1 million more people are expected to call San Diego home in the next 40 years. So what's being done to prepare for the population surge now? Local leaders have been at work updating the county general plan, a rather bland title for a blueprint for San Diego's future growth. And joining me to talk about what's in the works to accommodate a more crowded San Diego is KPBS Senior Metro reporter Alison St John. So, Alison, why is the county working on updating its plan for growth in the unincorporated areas now?
Well, you might say it's about time, Gloria. It's been about 30 years since they developed the plan, so this update is quite overdue, according to some people. But basically, this is, as you say, a major challenge for the region, that we've got 1 million more people coming in the next few decades, and at the same time, we've got shrinking resources, and we also have global warming coming. So this plan has to meet some very different kinds of challenges from the plan that they had 30 years back.
But they aren't ready to vote on it yet. So in 2010, there was no vote on this.
That's right. They had 3 public hearings with a couple of hundred people showed up to testify, a lot of strong feelings, and they haven't voted on it yet. You've got people who, the farmers especially, are very upset because part of this plan might downzone them, might mean that they would not be able to use their land for development. And so there's been quite a bit of talk about how farmers could be compensated. Then, of course, on the other side, you've got people who don't want to see a lot of extra development close to where they live. They've moved out to the country for peace, and so they don't want to see the zoning change. So anytime you get land use changes, people, are upset.
So are those the essential questions that still have to be answered before this goes to a vote?
Well, there's a lot of questions. The supervisors has asked their staff to look into dozens of questions, a list of about 30 different things, including, is there really enough water in the backcountry to sustain the amount of growth that we've said? Sure. What about fire? Can we get the fire trucks to the places that are growing in time to meet state response times? Do we have some money perhaps that we could offer farmers tax breaks, that kind of thing? These are all questions which are still being debated.
When we think about the County Board of Supervisors, we think about them as sort of a unit, that they tend to vote with one voice on many issues, not all issues. To what degree is the board approaching this with one voice now?
It's not always easy to predict exactly who's going to vote how on the board, but there are some different interests. We have Bill Horn in the North County, who has a lot of unincorporated area, and Diane Jacobs south and east with unincorporated areas. So they're the ones who are perhaps have most at stake. Their constituents are the ones who are probably lobbying for them to really protect their interests. And so one of the things is that there are 200 property owners who are very upset, and the supervisors have said to the staff, can you find a way to make this work for them? There's definitely a difference, I think, in the way that the supervisors consider developers, and so developers who may want an amendment to this general plan later to put a development where there wasn't supposed to be one. What is the procedure for allowing there to be amendments? That kind of thing may elicit some differences from the supervisors.
Well, we'll continue to watch that one, but of course when you have people, you have cars. And so there is also a plan to expand the freeways between La Jolla and Oceanside. However, California has new laws to curb greenhouse emissions. How is that going to affect what Sandag does in terms of transportation plan?
Well, it's going to have a major effect. And in fact, Sandag is the first regional government in the state to be developing its regional transportation plan with these new guidelines. So a lot of other regions are looking at San Diego to see how it's developing its transit and transportation plan. So the thing about the I-5 expansion, which we've heard a lot about, is that it is not in isolation. It is part of a much bigger plan where there are a lot of other moving parts to try to make sure that we don't all just end up in gridlock. One of the other things that is being considered as part of the overall plan is whether to double track the trains from Oceanside to San Diego, for example, and 4 of those lanes that are being proposed for the I-5 would be managed lanes, which means that they would be reserved for things like buses and carpooling.
Well, the public actually came out during the public hearings en masse to oppose the plan to widen Interstate 5. Is there any sense that this will have an impact on what goes forth?
Well, already it seems to have had an impact. It's hard to tell if it's the public opinion or if it's the lack of money, but Sandag has said that when they're looking at Caltrans' plan, they agree with adding 4 managed lanes and 2 extra lanes up to Carlsbad, but then from Carlsbad to Oceanside, they're saying, well, perhaps we should just put in the managed lanes and not widen it the full amount. So already there's some move to not go that full, massive amount all the way up to Oceanside.
I'm sure we'll see some legal action. Thank you very much, Alison St John.
My pleasure.